two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting adventure on Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, and today we are going to be discussing a film that Tammy chose for today, and it is none other than The Mask of Zorro, which stars Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Anthony Hopkins, among others. It is directed by Martin Campbell, and it was filmed in 1998. The character of Zorro was, in fact, originally written in a magazine article by, I believe his name was Johnston McCulley, and
Like that,
he
I think.
ultimately, I guess at the time, was supposed to be a hack, but he created the character of Zorro and eventually made him into a comic book character, and the character is still alive and well to this day. And that was, and the thing is original. His first magazine article was called "The Mark of Zorro," and it was eventually, I guess, picked up while Douglas Fairbanks was on holiday with his wife. And he decided he wanted to go and turn it into a movie. And in 1920, that's when we got the first Mark of Zorro. And it was later reprised in a movie with Tyrone Power, and then later in the 1970s with Alan Dane reprising the role. And of course, you also have to remember that Zorro was also a Disney a TV series, which I believe the name of the guy who played him, his name was Guy.
Yeah, there is also, I think, a Mexican telenovela called.
Yes, there is.
Guy Williams was the guy who reprised him.
They're working on a new Zorro reboot now, and they're also working on a crossover with Django.
Who?
Yep.
Cool.
And also, we found out that Zorro in Mexican means fox. So that is kind of interesting. But let us see what IMDb says about the film. It says a young thief seeking revenge for his brother's death is trained by the once great aging Zorro, who is pursuing his own vengeance. So, going into first impressions, why don't we start with you, El Zorro? my
Special guest, guys. Special guest. We got the real Zorro.
Thanks, guys. Well, yeah, as some of you know, I'm kind of into cosplay, and this was a costume I could put together for tonight from various cosplay stuff I have. So I figured out why not. And my first impressions of the movie, this is and isn't the first time I saw it. I stumbled upon it on TV multiple times, and I often saw bits and pieces of it, but this is the first time I actually watched it from the beginning to the end, and I really enjoyed the movie a lot. Uh, at first, when I saw how long it was, I was a bit like, two hours and 17 minutes, that's long. But the movie doesn't get boring for a single second. It gets exciting from the very beginning, and it remains exciting until the end. Maybe my only issue would be that Zorro himself doesn't have that much of a screen time. Well, at least not in the Zorro outfit. That would be maybe my one issue with the movie, but it's still interesting enough, exciting enough, suspenseful enough with a good dose of humor too, and some good spudouts as well.
Wow.
Spudow!
Okay.
So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Okay. Heading over to you, Tammy, since this is your pick. Was this a first time watch for you?
Oh, definitely not. I've watched it many a times. Um, I've always liked the stuff, with Zorro and so when the movie came out, of course, I was really interested, and I two actors that I like a lot were in it. Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins. So it's like,
You don't like
wow,
Catherine Zeta-Jones? What the hell?
she's
Oh.
okay, but
He?
Oops.
I'm not looking at her the same way you are.
Oh, I didn't say you were, but she still is she. She got tits. Well, then
I
again,
like
Dave
looking
does
at
too, but
I like looking at Antonio Banderas. But yes, I like the movie. I do have to agree with Zorro here that it would have been nice to see him in this Zorro costume a little bit more. So, or without any of it, that would have been fine too.
Well, yeah, you've liked him ever since Armand. So,
Ooh.
but anyways, is that pretty much your first impression then?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I did enjoy it. I think they had some fairly strong actors in it, which brought the film, you know, made it as good as it was. Or, like was already been mentioned. There's humor, there's spitouts, there's sexiness, there's drama. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything. So yeah, it's very enjoyable, and it's not
romance.
boring.
So, Krol, was this a first time watch for you?
Actually, for this version, yes. I thought I had seen it until I watched it and realized I hadn't seen it. So I'm glad I've seen it, and I may go watch the second one because I haven't seen that either. Um, I've always loved Zorro. I love the TV show. I love the movies. I'm not sure exactly how many of the movies I've seen. I know I saw the '70s, the late '70s one. I know I saw the Zorro gameplay in the '80s. I know I saw the TV show. I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of the older movies, maybe the '40s one. Um, always big fan of Zorro. And yeah, this one did not disappoint at all. It was definitely well done, well cast. Anthony Hopkins, he's always great. This is kind of a he's usually more of a bad guy in a lot, or sinister guy. This one he's good, and he plays it just as well. I mean, he can play whatever he plays. He plays it's great, and I really enjoyed him as an older Zorro and mentor. And Antonio Banderas is a great actor, and he did a great job as Zorro, and playing to the apprentice, and finally a master of swordsman. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, I can't say about her. She's freaking gorgeous, and she's a great actress, and it's always wonderful to see her on in any film, even when she's a stuffy broad. um, But yeah, so that's my first impressions. It was a great Zorro movie. Really enjoyed it.
Okay. And I actually saw this in the theater. Um, I didn't see the
Ooh.
second one in the theater, but I did see this one in the theater, and I believe it was my mentor that the state gave me to take me out to, and when I got in trouble years ago, I ended up being provided by a man to broaden my horizons, at least. And he would take me to a bunch of movies, and I ended up watching this one with him. Of course, he fell asleep. I was entertained, and I've always enjoyed the Zorro character. I do think that for the time that this is set in, during the time of Santa Ana, and that if at all possible, the people needed a character, to be able to look up to, someone who they could say, "Hey, if we're in trouble, that man can come," and he's kind of a hero. He's kind of a superhero of like the modern West, I guess. Kind of similar to like the Lone Ranger in
Yeah,
retrospect.
yeah, especially
Uh,
when he was holding this horse up in the air and waving to people and stuff and having his sword up. I was like, oh shit, that looks just like the Lone Ranger. Another show I used to love as a kid.
yeah, but ultimately, I loved the action in here. I loved the look of Zorro. It was definitely a more modern take, although um, uh, watching some of the behind the scenes, I love the fact that some of the locations, like the haciendas, they were actually, I guess, one of the reasons why they were able to use some of the locations was so that they could actually like take and re-put them back to what they were while they were filming. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
Uh, Evidently, there were some areas that were scouted out in Spain, and they also did some stuff in studio, of course, like the cave. The cave was done in a studio, and various stuff like that. The other thing that I thought that was pretty cool is that the person who ended up teaching all the people sword fighting was Bob Anderson, and Bob Anderson is a fencer and an Olympic fencer at that, who taught people all the way back to Errol Flynn. So he's been involved with Highlander. He was involved with the Princess Bride. He was involved with Johnny Depp and his swordsmanship, at least in the first two Pirates films. He also was a stunt double for Darth Vader in Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back and
Oh,
Return of the Jedi.
wow.
So,
And
um,
he was very impressed with Antonio Banderas because he said it's one thing to teach, but it's better if they have their own, you know, their own pizzazz, their own, you know. And he said
Natural
Antonio
style.
talent.
Banderas style, was, and not only could he physically was able to do everything, and that he was very athletic, but he had his own way, his own thing, which made it even better.
Well, yeah, and Antonio Banderas came prepared. 2 months before he came to Bob Anderson, as in he had already been studying fencing. So when he came to him, he like was already multi-talented to begin with. So in order to show him uh, what was needed. I mean, he was very easy to teach, and he even came up with some things of his own. So that was cool to learn. And I find this film very entertaining, and I like the fact that we kind of get a new origin story for the next generation of people. You know, because that's kind of what we get here. It is kind of an origin circle of life story. You know, a changing of the guards, so to speak. You know, but
Yeah.
in any case, um, let's get into the plot. So, in the very beginning, we have two brothers who are witnessing the possible execution of, uh, from what I gather, they were just random people chosen from the crowd just to get the attention of the Zorro of that day, and it got his attention. And so, what do y'all think about this very beginning here?
Well,
It,
I would say I was a little surprised when the dictator dude said that, get the children out of the square. They should never see this, and I was like, that was actually kind of good. I mean, uh,
oh,
I would expect him to want the children to see it. Because so in that aspect, he wasn't as evil as he could have been, to get the kids out of there. So
No, in fact, one of the things that was said on the behind the scenes thing is that the director had wanted him to be a more moral person. Like he didn't want him to be entirely bad, because he wanted him to be a man for the people. In fact, when he was returning, he really didn't care about the people in a sense. Um, but,
interesting.
but it just so happens that he was on the other side of the law, and I believe that he was actually in love with Don Diego's um, wife.
Oh, yes, I think. Uh,
um, Go ahead.
yes, I also think he was in love with Don Diego's wife. And yeah, it was an interesting scene. I also happened to notice the detail when Raphael said the children shouldn't be witnessing what they're doing. So yeah, they made him seem a little more human with that scene, although they didn't take it much in that direction later on. uh,
and immediately after, I mean, yeah, he did want to say the kids, which is nice, but he's like, who are the people up there? They're gonna hang. Oh, just three random people. Like I don't. He's like, I don't know, just three random people. Like he didn't give a fuck who he's killing. It means nothing. Life means nothing to him,
y-
except for I guess kids.
Well, he
You
said
don't
he'd
expect-
kill 100 people if he had to just to get Zorro there.
oh yeah, that that was
Because
nasty.
evidently, this is kind of picking up where we believe that Zorro, the true Zorro, has in fact left off. He's just basically pissed off the leader of the country, and well, he wants him dead, or you know, disappeared.
Oh, and another moment I really liked in that scene was when Alejandro and Joaquin pushed that angel statue down, and
Yeah,
Another
that,
cool
that
moment
was great.
was
yeah.
when Zorro actually took his whip and um, when they were about to fire on the people, all the guns just went in one
Direction
particular
and shot
direction and
the
shot the dude.
Oh yeah, that was great
I
too.
actually really enjoyed when he went down into the hanging hole and went around and then stabbed the guy in the ass. Hilarious. It's like, yeah, we went over here.
And in the television show from Disney, there was always one fat Mexican dude that he always seemed to spar with.
Oh yeah.
And I seem to think that like that dude that he shot might have been like that. Dude,
I think it was him. It looked just like him. If it was, it's definitely uncanny resemblance if it wasn't him. Because I recognized him immediately too. I'm like, hey, that looks like the guy who he's fighting.
But in any case, Zorro came to save the day, and the mob of the people seemed to help, and the kids ended up helping too. And for their courage, he gave them this. Well, one of them, this necklace, which I think that we learn the purpose of that necklace later on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have anything similar to that to add to my costume.
That's
That's
okay.
okay. Well, that's okay. You gave.
Sorry, Krol, what did you say?
Oh, I was just saying that's okay.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, we know who you really are. But
Oh,
at the end of
really?
the day, who was that masked man, anyways?
Zorro, the gay blade.
But
Yeah, when they were saying that though, they didn't mean it that way when they first started saying it,
What are you talking about?
Well, when people first started saying Zorro the gay blade, they didn't mean
No, there's
like
a movie called
gay.
Zorro, the gay blade. The guy's gay. But his brother was supposed to be Zorro. He immediately got injured, so the gay one said, "I'll take over till you heal." And he was gay. His outfit was gay. I think it was like a pink Zorro outfit. It was in the 80s.
Yep. There was this movie, and I believe the
was
same
pretty
guy
funny.
who played in Love at First Bite played Zorro.
Jim Carrey.
No. But that was that was his yellow outfit when he was doing. I've got them doing feet. But anyways, moving on. So I guess it's some years later. Well, actually, we should talk about when Don Diego goes back to his casa.
Tells the story of what happened to his baby daughter.
Well, yeah. He goes back and he's telling his daughter the story of his masked adventures, and his wife comes in and she's like, you really shouldn't be going on these adventures, and I guess she touches his arm, and his arm is still unhealed from his escapades that day, and it just so happens that the other guy, I believe his name is Don
Rafael Montero, I think.
Yeah, Montero. He and a bunch of his men have come
The governor.
and it just so happens that his wife gets in the way, and one of his men shoots her, and
He immediately
Raphael
stabs him, which I enjoyed. Because he's
Raphael then puts him in prison and takes his daughter for his own.
That's fucked up.
Yes.
Now it is years later, and the two brothers are grown, and this is where we see Antonio Banderas as being one of the brothers. And they, at first, we think that they are prisoners under this old Western looking dude, when in fact They are caballeros. They are thieves. Which I love this first beginning part where they come in to this army
I thought you were
encampment.
tied up. Because you're stupid.
And then they tie all of them naked to a post. It's hilarious.
They
But
tied him
they
to a
begin to
cactus
leave, and
naked. It was a big
they
cactus they
tied them
tied him
to a
to
cactus.
while they were naked.
That's
I
Yes, it was a
thought
big
I
cactus.
didn't realize it was a cactus. I thought it was like
Yeah, me neither.
a wooden post.
That's really
No, it
mean.
was a cactus. That's why they were all yelling because they're naked and they're tied to a cactus. You know, they're getting tricked.
That's even more hilarious.
I'd be yelling too.
But they take the wagon and the horses and they run into a small army, which is led by the American Custer looking dude that runs them down, and he basically his brother tells him to go, and he's in the brush watching as his brother then kills himself, and then the dude ends up cutting off his hand and his head.
Bury the body. Cut the head
Oh.
off. He didn't say anything about
Which-
the hand.
Well, he didn't say anything about the hand, but later,
Oh, I know. I remember seeing it, but he never did say anything about the hand. So I wonder why.
no, he didn't.
It's weird.
Tammy, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
The hand that we see in the jar later is not his. It's the guy that was with them. That was that everybody wanted to
The
capture.
old guy.
Remember, he was missing fingers. That's whose hand was in the jar.
Oh.
He only cut his head off.
Well, in any case, this is at the point where, after everything is said and done, he picks up his brother's necklace, and he is then also seen in town drunk as a skunk, and he wants to drink more. But he has no money except for that necklace. Meanwhile, Don Raphael has returned to the prison in which he has.
Yes, he escaped. He has escaped, and he saw the other guy come back and make all these promises to everybody, and he was
I thought that
They thought Zorro had died because they had killed some other dude that said he was Zorro, and so they thought it was him.
And what he
by the way, sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask something. There was this one scene that I didn't understand very well when Raphael was in prison and asking all those prisoners which one of you is Zorro. How come he didn't know who was Zorro when he arrested him himself?
He wanted to know who Zorro was because he wanted to make sure he was dead, because he had just come back to the area and he didn't want to have to deal with him. He wanted to make sure he was dead.
And Don Diego was just so unrecognizable to him that he didn't recognize him at that point in time, because he had long hair, a beard. He was wearing like some kind of patch over his eye or something like that. That he was just
so he wasn't really recognizable anymore. So and then we have a scene that's kind of like Spartacus, where it's like who's Zorro, and just while everybody pops up and says I'm Zorro, no I'm Zorro. They all want to protect the real Zorro.
Well, it's either that or they all have no problems dying. anytime soon.
Well, they probably preferred to be dead as well to the life they had. I mean, they didn't look very
Which
well
honestly,
nourished and stuff.
this escape scene somewhat reminds me of the escape scene in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, just a little bit. Not much, but there's also one other escape scene that comes to mind for me: the Count of Monte Cristo. I don't know if you've seen
Interesting.
that particular movie, but one of the
Haven't seen it.
things that the Count is able to do is when his friend the Abbey um, dies, he's able to switch bodies with the dead body so that they can um, think that he's the one that's dead, and they threw him off the cliff instead of the good Abbey that had taught him his swordsmanship.
Right, and in this one they bury him, and they don't realize he's not dead. They don't. They think that they're burying a dead dude.
Correct. And that's what kind of reminds me of this prison escape. It's just in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He's attached to a guy, and
Achoo! Oh wait,
yeah,
that's
and
him in tights.
I guess one of them gets there. Oh, he pulls the one dude, the dude that was gonna cut his hand off. He pulls the one guy over, and he cuts his own hand off, and then he escapes with a chew. So, but moving on, this is where Don Diego steps in, and he's like, "You shouldn't really be selling a trinket quite like that. Who did you get it from? That's none of your business." I say that it is. Tell me, it was my brother's. He is now dead. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And then he pulls him because they just see guards pull up, and he tells them, "Hey, I can teach you
Well,
all
no.
that."
First, he says he's gonna go out there and kill the guy because it was the one that killed his brother, and he basically starts to sword fight with him. So he's like, "You're welcome." He's like, "What? I just saved your life," because he would have gone out there all drunk and gotten killed.
Well, yeah, he wasn't exactly in the right mind to do anything at that moment,
Plus, there was a
and
whole fucking army.
yeah, doing what he said he wanted to do takes time and calculation. So, um, he basically says, "Hey, I will teach you everything that you want need to know, because I am Zorro." Or he doesn't come out and say it. I don't think, but
No, not
he
at this point.
definitely takes him to the cave in which
And that's when
Yeah,
he
once
knows
he's
that
at the cave, then he realizes that he's Zorro.
that is Zorro. He's there at that cave, and he's with Zorro because he never thought that would ever happen.
And he's like, "Where have you been all this time?" I don't want to talk about that right now.
In prison. That
And
wasn't
so,
exactly his fault he wasn't around.
and that's where we kind of get that scene where he's like, do you know how to use that thing? Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
you stick the
pointy end
pointy
into
blade into the other man, don't you? Let's do this.
Great line.
And then we get
that's
this
when he
scene
comes
where
over and slaps the
he
sword
does
out.
the whole. We get this whole scene where he comes at him, and Anthony Hopkins just stands there, his character, Zorro, the original Zorro. And Antonio Banderas puts on this whole scene of like he's coming to attack him, does this whole thing. and he stops and he just goes bink and hits the sword and it goes flying. That was great because he just stood there and let him do his own little whatever.
It reminds me kind of Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom when the guy's like using his swords. He's like flipping them all around. Then there's gonna be a big fight, and then he just pulls out a gun and shoots them.
Well, you know the whole reason why that happened? He actually, it was supposed to be a whole all drawn out swords fight, believe it or not. But he was basically having a heat stroke moment, so he just pulled out his gun and shot him at that moment instead of doing a whole all out swords fight. Did you know that?
No, but it was great. I'm glad they decided to keep it in.
I'm glad they did too, because that puts a little bit of humor into that moment. It's like,
Yeah, it was
why
hilarious. I haven't watched any Jones Temple of Doom
I
in
go
a
through
very
all this
long
work,
time, and I'll never
guy.
forget that scene. You know, so if it was a swords fight, it might have been a good swords fight, and maybe you might remember it, but probably not. You know, the fact that he just shoots him was just so epic.
Yeah, why do all that work? But
Yeah,
in any case,
yeah, I didn't realize that wasn't meant to happen. I didn't know that, so that's great.
so
I'm glad they did.
he then proceeds to teach him how to use the sword. I guess there is some kind of like jungle gym that he sets up for him to like gain his speed and agility, which is kind of cool. And
Yeah, the whole
ultimately,
circle thing is cool because as he gets
yeah,
better, he gets, I thought that was really neat. I
Yeah,
actually wish they would have showed more of him moving from this area to this area to as he
yeah.
advanced. I wish they would have showed a little bit more that
But then we would have had a 3 hour
Zorro
movie.
why. Well, he explained that as he advanced, he would move to different areas of it, so it would have been kind of neat just see him
Oh, I
advance a
agree
little
with
bit
you. I'm
more
just
than
saying,
than
I'm not afraid of watching long movies.
well, it definitely seemed like it was a rigorous training exercise that he put himself through, which I almost wonder who Zorro learned it from himself. Was he in fact the person
Well, from
who
what,
invented
if
this?
you notice, at one point, Antonio Banderas says there's been many Zorros. So, according to what he said, Anthony Hopkins wasn't the original Zorro. There was a Zorro before him. So that Zorro probably taught him. And likewise, before him, there was a Zorro, kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts type thing.
it sounds like
Basically,
it
To be
was.
honest,
they're acknowledging that there are other Zorros out there, and that they kind of pass it down to other people.
to
So
be
I
honest,
like that.
It
to be
sounds like
honest,
it's
the
not
way
like
that
a family
Antonio
thing.
to be honest, the way that Antonio Banderas eventually looked with his haircut, did anyone get a "My name is Tony Montoya"
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
or "My
yes.
name is God"?
I even said it when he squared off against the captain. I was like, "You killed my brother. Prepare to die." I said that. I totally said that. Oh man.
I was
Well, in the Count of
getting
Monte
heavy
Cristo, in the Count of Monte Cristo, didn't he go through a training thing, kind of like this too, right?
a little bit, but one
Yeah.
of the things in Monte Cristo, and maybe this is a little bit of spoilers, but one of the thing that he had him do to learn speed with the sword was there was these drops of water that were coming down from a certain area, and he had to put his hand in very quickly and not get his hand wet, and he needed to learn speed, and that's one thing that was kind of cool.
Well,
But
hopefully I'll forget what you just said if I watch the movie.
there are many different versions of the Count of Monte Cristo too. So, which I wouldn't mind covering.
I
Maybe
wouldn't
that'll
mind. I've
be
never seen it, so
maybe that'll be my choice pick next time. Next time it's my turn. But in any case, so we have his training, and I guess he has his first mission because I guess he has met.
needs a horse.
Yeah, but he met the horse before he had his mission. Do you remember
I love
that?
I just want to point out, I love that fucking horse.
Oh yeah,
That is,
that
I
is
like that horse.
like
In
the
the
first.
background, they used 5 different horses
How
for
many
different
times did that
things.
horse knock him on his ass?
Yeah, the first time he was riding the
For,
horse was like he
for
was
the life
riding a
of
bull.
for the director couldn't actually, in fact, get the horse to knock those bunks at all. So he makes it look like the horse does it, but in
He
fact,
does a great job because it did look like the horse did it.
but
But they
yeah,
said they did end up using like 5 different horses for different stunts.
Really?
You know, one kicked, one stood up, one, you know.
wasn't the
So
horse called Thunder something?
Tornado. I think that
Tornado.
was
Yeah.
that was the
So
first Zorro's horse.
that
Not sure if that's the same one later.
yeah, that is the name of the horse. It would be Tornado, and he. I do like this a moment where he's kind of bumbling on his first mission. You know, he. I think he does it on his own because I don't think Don Diego told him to go do it because
no.
Yeah.
he
I love when
comes
the
back
the big Spaniard.
aside, like, hey, look at this fine horse that I've got. Well, not well.
Mm,
He's
it
like
was.
stealing a horse and
I think the horse trained him more than
what did he say? Stealing a horse and carving into stone doesn't make you Zorro or something like that, is what he said when he came back with the horse.
yeah.
Yeah, because one
He's like, you're
he
still
does
just a
have
thief.
he does have this cool sword fight with the guys in there because he is like fighting like tooth and nail, and you can see he's got all those swords like clashed up against his own, and they're all crisscrossed, you know. And then of course he comes up against one big giant Mexicano.
That was so cool. Grabs
Because the little
those were
midget.
balls for the cannonballs.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. And then he puts the cannonballs into the cannon and the lights, and he's like, eh, and they're like, ah.
And of course, he's picked up.
Put out.
He's picked up the gunpowder thing, and he's still got it in his hands. And he suddenly realizes that it's still in his hands as he's like running out the place.
I thought he thought it was alcohol or something. I'm like, why did he pick it up?
Oh, and did you see when the guy, when the other guy was spitting his teeth out?
Oh,
Yeah.
The big Spaniard. Yeah.
That was definitely a big guy.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he's like a Spanish Andre the Giant.
Right.
Yeah.
But in any case, that place explodes, and this is where he makes his first mark of Zorro as well, where he rears the horse and he does that Z you know.
That's after he finally gets the horse.
Yeah,
Does the
Yeah,
horse
that's
after
after
he
he
gets thrown
finally
off the
gets
horse like 3 times.
Well, the
Well,
horse
yeah,
moves. The horse moves from where he was supposed to drop onto it
Oh, that
because
was hilarious. That was hilarious. He's
He
like,
tried to call him over
he's
there.
all ready to
He's
jump
calling
onto the horse.
he
And
said he would
just,
he would get another horse.
And he's sitting there trying to get him to come over there, and he's calling on this name and that name and whistling for him and everything. And finally, when he whistles, he comes over, but then moves.
that was hilarious. The horse
Now-
was like, yeah, I ain't staying here for you to jump on me.
now that the horse got on the first take, that was something that he didn't have to train him to do at all. They filmed it
Of course,
first take.
would you want to stand there while some guy jumps down from a tower onto your back? No.
And they even got him. They even got the horse to do the turn around and do the little hee at him. That was what was great. When he
Like I
was on
said,
the ground and the horse turned around and went hee,
the horse was hilarious.
The horse was horsing around.
Well, and ultimately,
Enough of your horseplay.
after bringing the horse back to the cave, he kind of blows up at Don Diego, and he's like, "If you can't help me, then I'll go someplace else and fulfill my revenge." And he stops him, and he turns around, and he basically says, "Have at it," like he's gonna fight him. And I love this. He pulls out a fucking spoon.
Yeah, he's like, here's your weapon. He grabs a sword. He's all ready with the sword. Then he grabs a spoon.
And what's interesting is that in the behind the scenes, they were talking about the sound guy that was involved with the film. He made sure that spoon had a whoosh sound when he pulled it out, like it was, and all the different clangs of the swords and the different swords fights, they had to be different pings and different swishes and stuff like that. I thought
you forgot the whole scene with the whip.
Oh yeah, when he
comes in, he's whipping the candles.
Yeah,
and
he's
that's when they exchange words, and he actually whips him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Watch it. But he basically tells him that the next thing that he needs to learn is charm. Which I wish that we could have seen some of that too. Some of that learning of charm.
Before
Also, when he says that, he gets real close to him and he says, "There's something else you need too," and that's when they take him for the bath.
And cuts his hair Yeah, he smells him and he's like crinkled up, and then he takes him for the bath and cuts his hair. And
but before that, we forgot to comment on the confession scene.
Oh, that's
after,
a little,
isn't it? Yeah, that's after.
That's a little later.
I thought that was okay. Maybe you're right. I'm not sure.
That's right. He does, in fact, run into his daughter. She is riding on.
Yeah, he tells her to be careful. There's scary people out there. As he's wearing a mask and about to steal a horse.
I think it's right. I think it's right after this moment where he has to be genteel. He has to be a gentleman. And the whole
I had
dance.
unpure thoughts about a man I met in a mask. I love that confessions. He was like, ooh.
Yeah, so he introduces himself to Don Raphael, and he impresses him, I think, to a certain extent. Enough so that he
Oh, he
invites
does.
him in his whole vision and stuff like that, because he charms him with words of the court, the Spanish court, that he thinks that he can bring him back into Spanish society, and also there is a little bit of sparring wordplay between him and that Colonel Custer looking dude.
Yeah, don't forget the rose though. He's like, I didn't even bring a gift, but I have this, and he pops the rose, and she giggles and thinks it's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, by the way, was I the only one who thought when Raphael appeared in that purple suit and with some blush on his cheeks that he kind of looked like the Joker, Jack Nicholson's version?
No.
I was reminded of that.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a flair now, and I'm not sure if that's something that Don Diego might have taught him. That might have been something that he might have actually picked up as a thief.
I didn't mean Alejandro. I was saying about Raphael.
Yeah. Raphael is definitely a different character.
Yeah.
But he does cut in on the dance that I keep on calling him Colonel Custer, but I
just
should
call him
call
Custer.
him. Well, he does kind of look like a Custer.
I know he does.
So let's see. Seeing if I can find him here.
I think they were calling him Captain Love, if that's the one you're thinking of.
Yeah, Captain Love. But let's see if I can find his name here. That one dude was Three-Fingered Jack, who eventually showed up at the mines later on. Harrison Love, Captain Harrison Love, who was played by Matt Lesher. I guess that's how you spell his name, but he was a dick.
By all means.
But he interjects on a dance that they were on, and they dance. But then he suggests that they have something more of a upbeat tempo, basically, and they do something similar to an older style of Spanish dance, which is very sexy. What do y'all think?
I wanted to dance with him.
I wanted to dance with her.
Right.
I wanted to dance with him. In fact, when he was getting his bath, I was hoping they were going to show more, but
Which
they didn't.
this dance, in fact, caught the attention of Don Raphael, because in a sense it kind of infuriated him for a moment, because he saw them together, and it was it was
That's
like
my
he was
daughter.
his daughter.
Yeah.
But he kind of sort of won him over with his charm again, and he
make it sound like it was the girl, foolish girl and everything. He's like, ah, and she walks off. Like,
But yeah, so he's invited in on the vision, and the vision just so happens to be about a bar of gold, which he tells these leaders of this country to all meet him tomorrow, and he will show him
well, they
exactly.
they want to own California, and they're like, we can't fight. And he's like, well, no, we'll buy it.
Well, yeah, Santa Anna, he is fighting a war against the Americans, and he is very poor. So, and he said that he's already got already set in stone the way in which to buy California. But he tells them all to be here tomorrow sharp, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And so he has all these gentlemen show up in wagons at this mining facility where he shows them this whole room filled with bars of gold with Santa Anna's stamp on it.
El Dorado.
Yeah, he calls it El Dorado.
Yeah, he calls it El Dorado.
But yeah, and
but it's not his land that they're mining on, and they're getting.
No,
gold.
it's actually the guy there. They give him the gold too.
Right.
So they're basically stealing from him to give to him.
Yep. And also, Alejandro, well, that's who he's going by right now. He notices that that not only are men and women working in this mine, but children are too.
Where'd you get all the people? Anywhere we wanted.
He's noticing the different people around while he's I mean, didn't you see the child going up the ladder with the pail of like rocks?
Yep. On his head.
Yeah, I mean, everyone there looks like they're destitute and that they're seriously, not looking well.
Malnutrition.
Yeah.
Malnutrition and all that jazz. And that's when Three-Fingered Jack kind of like comes out and speaks. And I love this. He just flies out. And he gets shot by
that's the second time I shot this man flying.
Yeah, the second time I shot him in flight, and then
that's when
he cuts his. We don't see it, but that's when he cuts his hand off and puts it in the jar that he shows him later.
Which makes you think that maybe he's like starting to put two and two together with Alejandro, like.
Yeah, he suspects him right away.
And I guess ultimately, after this moment of revelation of this mine area, he takes that information back to the cave, and this is where also we have that moment which Philippe told us about, Mr. El Zorro, about him going and running or is it no, not yet because he goes back to the cave, tells him all. He tells him he should go, and
he needs to get a map because he can't take him to where the mine is. So he needs to go get a map so he knows where it is.
Correct. And so that's when he goes there, grabs the map, has the fight with Don Raphael and Captain Love in the hallway. I love this moment because at first, there's this moment where these two guards like come upon them.
Bend over.
And then bend
Excuse me,
over, and then spoon out.
and
Out the
pushes them
window.
both out the window. And then of course he fights Don Raphael and then fights them both at once, which is cool because at one moment he flips over them and then runs into the foyer area, and you see him fighting off various army guys, um, and you see him doing some acrobatics in the tree with the branches, and Captain Love and him fight again, and he fights him off, and Don Raphael, and ultimately he gets away by that completely big map that's on the back wall that shows like where he's taking over, California and all that jazz, and they're all
And then he
bumbling,
ends
trying to
up in
figure out.
the stable.
Yeah, well, wait. So where is this moment where he actually goes to confessional?
That was a long time ago, back right
Yeah.
after he stole the horse.
Yeah, right
I
before he
thought
stole,
so.
Like
right
Boris
before he
said.
stole the horse, because he sees
Okay,
And
yeah, and she in
uh,
fact tells him about her experience and the fact that she had some untoward
Unnatural
thoughts,
thoughts.
unnatural thoughts about a man in a mask.
unnatural.
Was he rugged and good looking? I don't know.
He was behind a mask.
But did that scene remind any of you of a certain confession scene in Lucifer?
No.
Oh,
Uh,
little bit. I forgot that happened on the show.
Me
how
too.
could you forget that scene? Shame on you.
Well, we forget things. We're old.
When Lucifer and Chloe went to, okay, sorry if I'm spoiling this for anyone who might be watching season 1 of Lucifer now. There was this one scene when Chloe and Lucifer entered the church while doing some investigation, and some woman wanted to take a confession, and Lucifer sat in the confession booth, and she didn't know she wasn't talking to a priest, and she started to confess about having lustful thoughts about her driver while she was married to another man. And Lucifer was like, if you have such desires, you should act on them instead of discouraging her from doing that. And the best part of that scene was at the end when Chloe saw what he was doing, and then he just to finish the confession, he told the woman, "For your penance, 10 Bloody Marys and a good shag."
Okay, I can see where you were thinking about that for a moment.
Right?
But in any case, moving on. So, at some point after this map incident is where we get Don Diego. Oh, and before he goes and grabs this map, there's this cool moment where you see the letter Z in fire. Um, that Don Diego has lit to scare Don Raphael into
Oh,
thinking.
yeah.
it was also a diversion for him to get in there and get the map, because
Yeah.
you figured that having that big Z on the countryside make them come look for him, and it did.
That
It
was
made a whole
cool.
bunch of them leave.
Yeah.
There's
But
only one man. No, this is Zorro.
But it's after this moment where he has another moment in the cave with Don Diego, and he tells him, "Hey, I'm done. I've got my own things and own fish to fry. I
Forgot
need to
about the
take back my life."
confrontation in the. You can't forget about the confrontation in the stable with.
Oh yeah, the confrontation in the
That was like one of the best scenes.
Oh, yeah.
the
That
confrontation
was
in the stable is
yes.
Yeah, I love
where
that
Very.
Catherine
scene.
Jones as
That's
Elena.
very sexy and very.
I love it. I love how she's like really fighting, and he doesn't hurt her once. He absolutely fights her off, and takes her clothes off slowly.
Well, yeah, when they first started the fight, he's like, I don't have time to show you this.
and
I've
and
I've been
and
crazy since I was 4 years old.
he's been he
I don't
kisses he
have
ends up
time to
kissing
give
her
you the
three
proper
times.
instruction.
He ends up kissing her like 3 times during the fight too, which
True.
infuriates her. Which I loved. It was great. He's fighting her and kissing her and undressing her. It was more like foreplay more than a fight for him. And she's
Yeah,
really
it was
trying to fight
more
him,
of
but
seduction than anything else. And of course, her father comes in and she tells him, yeah, he was very vigorous.
what are you doing here? Looking at her like, well, why are you undressed?
Yeah, and she was like,
I love how
telling,
she used his hat to cover her breasts, and then he takes the hat and she's like, she's over her arms over.
yeah, and then when Raphael comes and he asks her questions, and she was like, I was fighting Zorro, but her voice is like she's orgasming.
She got seduced.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
But
when he kissed her again at the end, she's just like still standing there waiting for more, and then she looks and he's gone. And it's like she wants
Don
more.
Diego,
He definitely left her wanting more.
Don Diego has all along had the
Gender.
plan to take back his daughter. Well, actually, it wasn't originally to take back his daughter. Originally, it was revenge against Don Raphael. But then once he saw her on land, that's when he
And
just
even
wanted to
talk to
take
her.
her and just
Yeah.
go.
Even yeah, they even had a discussion because she's like, "How long have you worked for him?" And because she was very interested in him, and so
Yeah,
he
that
tells
was
her,
a
and
cool
he's like,
moment.
"Oh, you're like your mother." And he's like, "How would you know that?" And he's like, "Oh, because you're not like your father." And he's like,
Yeah, no shit, she's not like him.
"Yeah, because he's
Well,
not
he
even
doesn't
his."
look like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a very cool moment, and you could tell that he wanted to say more,
Yeah,
but he
it
couldn't
wasn't the
quite.
time.
No, it wasn't the time.
She hadn't ran into the nanny yet.
There is also a moment that I'd like to mention that of Elena when she was out in the public, she came across a woman who gave her a piece of clothing and told her
A scarf.
that she looked like her mother, and
Oh
she's like,
yeah.
"You have to be mistaken. My mother was died in childbirth. How could you know?" And I
In
guess her
Spain.
daughter said
Oh,
that she in fact was her mother's best friend and
Her
also took
nanny
care of her when she was a kid.
was her nanny.
yes.
Yep. So she already had the doubts like in her mind at that moment, and so what Don Diego plans on doing is taking his daughter away from Don Raphael. So he confronts him, and at first he's gonna swordsman him down, but um, at her instance, at her voicing of saying no, he dropped the sword and he allowed himself to be arrested. Um, and but he did have him at sword point to his throat, telling him to tell her the truth. And then as he was going away, he said, "Oh, by the way, she knows," you know. But ultimately, they throw him in a room, lock him up, and she, Elena, actually rescues him. Meanwhile, the good Captain Love is at the mine and is about to have his men lock up the miners and
Blow it all
blow.
up.
And guess who has showed up? Zorro. And I do like this moment where he actually comes in the form of a monk, you know, and gives one of the workers some water, and that's when we first see him, you know, at least at the mines, and then of course,
Isn't
what
it
do we
kind of
think?
fitting? The first time that he ever saw Zorro, Zorro was
Yep.
dressed like a monk when he was a kid.
Yep.
Yeah, it
And he
is.
went to, and he said the same thing. He went, shh, just like Zorro had said to him
Yep.
when he saw him.
And he kind of somewhat half grinned. He's got that half grin down. uh, but yeah, and then ultimately we get kind of the climactic moment here where you've got three things going on. You've got this final confrontation between Don Diego and Don Rafael. The final confrontation between um, Alejandro and Captain Love, and ultimately you have Elena, who is somewhat there to kind of help, get the people out, you know.
Well, first
And
she saves her adopted father, as you can call him, because she doesn't. She still has feelings for him, so she doesn't want him to die. And then he pulls a gun on her, and he drops his sword, and he's like, "You wouldn't believe I'd shoot my own daughter, would you?" And then he
yep,
tells her to go save the people.
and she does. And
Well,
I guess
most
uh,
of them.
uh, I guess the director was saying how he was trying to decide whether to have her just do nothing or do something, and
Oh, I'm
he
glad she
said he
did something. It made her,
He,
a better
he's
character.
glad that he chose to have her do something, and so
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
better this way.
yeah, much better. Made her a better character. Instead of just being a damsel in distress type woman. She just
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go in that direction.
me too.
and don't you think that this is a fitting end to Captain Love, where he gets a sword stuck through his chest, and then shortly afterwards he gets a
Well,
whole heap of.
you've got one line he says to him, which totally pisses him off. Obviously, he goes, "Oh, this would be the
Oh,
point. This would be the point where you shoot yourself like your brother," and that
oh.
infuriates him. Um,
And then he says something like, "How do you want your remains displayed?"
Yeah,
uh,
and he masks himself to show him who he is before he dies.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um,
You
uh,
you
and
you're
which
And
right.
kind
I
of
like I like when they're fighting and they're one's on one side of that beam and the other's on the other side, and they were fighting and he hits him and the sword goes up in the air and he catches it and then, phew.
Stabs him. Yeah,
Yep, that was a cool scene.
yeah. It was great. It was great.
Oh yeah, and then of course, meanwhile, Don Raphael has got Don Diego cornered, and he realizes that his foot is in fact like um, in the middle of like these reins that are for this wagon of gold. So he somehow gets that wagon started to rolling off that cliff, and Don Raphael is dragged off.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, that wagon of gold then also goes into Captain Lob. So two birds with one stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Adios.
Now, one thing I don't understand is how did he die afterwards? Like he wasn't stabbed. I mean, did he have a heart attack? I mean, like that just didn't make sense that he
Don
died.
Raphael?
No,
He
Don
got
Diego.
shot. He got shot when he said, you don't think I'd really shoot my daughter? And then when he pushed her away, he shot him.
Oh, I missed that. I guess. Huh.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
And then they had the sword fight, which he's fighting with being shot. You know.
Oh, I get it.
And I guess producers at one point in time had wanted his character to live at first, but once they
Well,
saw it his way, and had him die off, they thought better of it. And I guess it does work because then it's like the complete changing of the guards.
Yeah,
now
I mean,
Zorro
as much as you
continue.
love his character and you want him to live, I guess it was better for storytelling. So.
And I guess
well,
there was a different ending too. Originally, they didn't have the ending where he was telling the story to his child, and they were reminiscing about
I love that
the
part.
different adventure. Well, originally the original ending was where they had all been leading the people from the imprisoned area, and they were in the desert, and they ran into Santa Anna and his armies, and he like saluted them, and I guess him and her kissed, and that was the original ending. But they reverted to this ending and
I like this ending
refilmed
better.
this.
well,
I like this ending better, but I wonder how it would have been to have that ending.
I have to say,
No, it's good.
I wouldn't mind the original ending. To be honest, I think Diego didn't really have to die. To me personally, it felt like they did it just so that the ending wouldn't be perfectly happy, when they could have as well left him alive and make the ending happier than it was, which would have been my preference, but okay.
And at the end of everything, I think we should go into. I did touch a lot on production throughout, but did anyone else want to talk about production as far as what they thought of it? Krol, how about you?
The production was great. I mean, I really loved everything they did. I really thought it was really cool how they made the Z in fire. I love fire, so and I always loved the Zorro sign. So I thought that was really well done and a nice added touch to the original stuff. Yeah, the production was really well done. Everything looked great. The costumes looked great. The uniforms. Everything. I don't think there was anything out of place that I could see. It really felt like it was, California, a long time ago, and yeah, it was. I think the production was really well done.
I think they, really went all out because, they got Bob Anderson for teaching them about the sword fighting. And, it seemed like not only Antonio Banderas, but everybody they wanted to do their part and they did it very well. I don't think they really used many people as stand ins. I think everybody basically did their own things. And that's what I think what makes it even better is they just they all worked together and it seemed like they from the behind the scenes things that we watched they really enjoyed it. They had a lot of fun. So, and I think who they picked for the parts was perfect. You know.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The cast was perfect.
I think
I
so, too.
I also think the production was great, especially the the sword fights and all the battles. And
Well,
also,
and
yes,
we also skipped over a scene with horses where he went from horse to horse, and just the way that it was somewhat comical, where he ended up riding backwards and punching the one dude out and kept.
Yeah, he was taking out the whole little army there by himself, jumping from horse to horse, and it was really funny when he, the last guy, he went over his head with his between his legs. The guy just
And he jumped
looked
over
back
the
and he's like,
log that dude ran into.
yeah, the dude ran into the log. Yeah, so they definitely had some little bit of zaniness into the show, a little bit of laughter there, but it didn't. It just added to the fun of the movie. It didn't deter it at all or change the mood. It just added to it. Like Tammy had said, it has a little bit of everything in it.
Also, the fact that this was a western. So Krol, you say you don't like westerns.
No, this
was
is
a
a
western.
Zorro. This is Zorro. This is not a Western.
It was a western.
Westerns have gunfights. Thank you.
This did have guns.
No, it didn't have gunfights.
oh yeah, that
They had
reminds
guns
me.
and they shot the wrong people and there was no gunfighting back at them. There was no gunfights. It was guns, but no gunfights.
That reminds me, by the way, throughout the whole movie, I was wondering if all those bad guys use guns. Why does Zorro use only a sword? Why wouldn't he use a gun too?
Because he's better. Because guns suck. Swords are better.
Well, Tammy,
Every time they tried
this
using,
as a
every
western?
time they tried using the gun, they were shooting like they were stormtroopers.
Tammy, do you think that this is a western?
No.
I
Not really. It's set in that time, but it's not really a western.
Exactly.
it,
I
to
think I
me
agree with
didn't.
Kroll. If it was a real western, there would have been like a shootout or a gunfight or whatever. It's set in that time, but it's not really a western.
Yeah, I didn't get the Western impression either.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave. So throw that out of there.
I still believe that there are some western.
Cause I'm
atmosphere.
Dave and I don't listen to reason.
I'm
I
sorry,
believe what I believe, and no one can teach me different.
I'm sorry, but I just
You are
know
sorry.
I know westerns, and this
And this
has
isn't
got.
one of them. I know westerns too, and they suck. This was a good movie.
No, they don't suck. You just
They
don't
do
know
suck.
movies.
They do suck.
They do not.
They do.
They do not.
It depends on the western, and it depends on the actors.
They all suck, and I'm sorry. Tombstone was awesome. The rest suck.
I'm sorry,
You
but
said Tombstone sucked.
I said
No, he was
Tombstone
great.
was awesome. The rest suck.
Oh, you
No.
better not say that Tombstone sucked.
No, because
Otherwise,
Tombstone
you
was
can get
awesome.
off of here.
But that wasn't like. I mean, it was a western, but it was just so fucking well done. It wasn't like a western. It was a well
Okay,
done western, which is it is a idiocy because most westerns suck.
no,
Yep.
no. But in
Yep.
any case, to each their own, because I know many, many, many people who love westerns. So,
Yep.
um,
And I know many, many people that are stupid.
doesn't mean
Come
stupid,
on.
just
Oh,
entertained by the old west. I mean,
okay,
Tammy enjoyed Hell on Wheels, which was a television show that and we watched, and that was a Western television
Never
show.
heard of it.
well, I'm
It
not
was on,
really. Yes.
it was on AMC, and it was basically about the beginnings of Tombstone, basically. But and it also had someone she really really liked in it. Anson Mount.
Antonio Banderas.
No, Anson Mount.
Yeah.
Boy, would she have wanted to mount that Anson. Anyways,
He started watching that series first, and he got into it a little bit and
I
decided
mean,
that
he
he
wanted
knew
him
that I
out
would
that ass.
that he knew that I would like it, and he was right.
but in any case, let's talk about the music. What did y'all think about the music involved in it?
There was
Hey,
music.
before we about the music, yes, before anybody says anything though, in the behind the scenes, the guy that did the music had just he asked to do the music for this because he had just done Titanic, and he
James
wanted to
Horner.
do something different.
And he wanted to do something good.
Well, I like the music, especially the song in the ending credits. I thought that one was really beautiful. I had not heard it before, but I really liked it. I think I'm going to add it to my playlist.
Well, and James Horner, he's been involved in a lot of films over time. I mean, he let's see, going backwards, he started out. Oh God, Roger Corman, Up from the Depths, and Humanoids of the Deep, A Battle Beyond the Stars, The Hand, Wolfen, Deadly Blessing. These are a lot of cool horror films from back in the day. He did the music for Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan, Something Wicked This Way Comes, Space Raiders, Krol, Brainstorm, Gorky Park, Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. He did stuff
Space Force
for
3, the Space
Barbarian
Force 2.
Queen, Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, Cocoon, Volunteers, which was, I believe, John Candy and Tom Hanks, Commando, Aliens.
Ooh.
Let's see, what else? Willow, Batteries Not Included, Vibes, The Land Before Time, Cocoon: The Return, Field of Dreams, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, even the small little short film Tummy Trouble from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Glory,
Impressive. Most
Another
impressive.
48 Hours. Let's see, The Rocketeer, An American Tale, Five Goes West, and An American Tale, Patriot Games, Sneakers, Swing Kids. Let's see, Once Upon a Forest, The Man Without a Face, The Pelican Brief, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, Clear and Present Danger, The Page Master, Legends of the Fall, Braveheart,
Wow.
Casper, Apollo 13, Jumanji, Balto, The Spitfire Grill, Courage Under Fire, Ransom, The Devil's Own, Deep Impact, all before The Mask of Zorro. And afterwards, he did Mighty Joe Young, Bicentennial Man, The Perfect Storm, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Enemy at the Gates, A Beautiful Mind, Wind Talkers, The Four Feathers, which I just recently rewatched, The Missing House of Sand and Fog, Troy, The Forgotten, The Chum Scrubber, Flight Plan. He did the music for The Legend of Zorro, which is cool. The New World, All the King's Men, Apocalypto, which was another Mel Gibson. The Life Before Our Eyes, The Spider Chronicles, The Boy in Striped Pajamas, Avatar, The Karate Kid from 2010.
Ew. That movie
The
doesn't
Amazing
exist.
Spider-Man,
That movie doesn't exist in my world.
2012. Let's see. And he also did the music for the 33 and the remake of the Magnificent Seven, and that was the last one, last film he composed behind.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, he
But,
quit because he's so ashamed of doing the Karate Kid fake.
Anyways, let's go into favorite scenes and favorite characters. So, Tammy, this was your choice. What would you consider a favorite scene or a favorite character?
I really did like the sword fight between Antonio Banderas and Catherine. You know, that was
Captain Love.
cool.
Captain
No.
Zeta-Jones.
I really liked that because it had the whole scene had a little bit of everything. You know, it was comical and it was sensual and it was still sword fighting. It was, you know, I like that one. That was like my favorite scene. And
Detective.
of course, my favorite actor is Antonio. You know, but
Right, but who's your favorite character?
yes, and I do have to say one of my other favorite scenes though is at the when him and Zorro, you know,
Don
actually,
Diego.
Don Diego first are together, and he said just that scene where he sits there and he puts on this whole display, and Don Diego just stands there, and he gets done, and he goes, and he knocks the sword right out of his hand, just like, you know, he just stood there for that whole display and just did that.
Like it was
just
nothing.
like, yeah. You know, I mean, I really did like, you know, Antonio Banderas' character very much, but you know, you have to give a lot of credit to Anthony Hopkins as Don Diego because he just, for a lot of it, he was just so cool and collected.
He
And
was
he just
smooth.
do his thing, you know. So
Heading over to you, El Zorro. Favorite character and favorite scene or scenes?
Well, my favorite character would definitely be Zorro. I'm not sure if I would choose Alejandro or Don Diego, but the very concept of Zorro is something I like what he stands for. A guy whose identity nobody knows, but he fights corrupt people on high positions, which is something I very much approve of, and I'm generally a big hater of corrupt politicians and corrupt people on all sorts of high positions. And I think in real life, every country where being a person on high position is a privilege rather than a sacrifice and responsibility. Every country like that needs a real life Zorro too, which is basically every country in the world.
Oops. Sorry.
That's fine. But yeah, as far as the characters go, since both Don Diego and Alejandro stood for the same thing, it's kind of difficult to choose one over the other. Uh, and as far as favorite scenes go, it would probably be the final confrontation scene between Alejandro and Captain Love and Don Diego and Rafael, which was basically like having two Zorros fighting at once, even though only one was dressed like Zorro. And I also liked, as Tammy said, the sword fight between Alejandro and Elena. That was also an interesting one. And although this is not one of my favorite scenes, but I think it's one worth mentioning. When Captain Love showed Alejandro the head of his brother in a jar. That scene kind of took me aback because aside from that scene, there isn't actually any gore in the movie, any over the top graphic violence. Okay, there are fights and stuff, but not something really violent you can see on screen, like gore and stuff like that. So seeing a human head in a jar was kind of shocking for a movie like this. Surprisingly dark moment in such a movie. So I wanted to mention that too. Uh, Aside from that, I also wanted to say I really liked. Okay, I should have mentioned that when we were talking about the production, but I also liked the interiors of various places in the movie, like Don Rafael's house and the church with all those statues and stuff that looked really cool. Uh,
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. Heading over to you, Krol. What would be your favorite character or favorite scenes?
Well, I gotta go with everybody else with Zorro, but I actually think they're kind of tied. Anthony Hopkins and Tony Banderas did such a great job with their roles that they're both my favorite. And also with scenes, I agree. The scene between Catherine Zeta-Jones and Daniel Banderas was awesome. I love that. It was so sexual and seductive, and it was actual sword fight, and he keeps kissing her through it, and which just makes her mad. But he's just easily he cuts her. She cuts him once. That was the only actual a little bit of blood, but it didn't really even bother him. And he expertly cuts her clothes and doesn't cut her at all. I just love how he does that, and it totally leaves
Yeah,
her wanting more, not more sword fight. She wants his sword.
the scene,
Apparently, they had her.
the
And
scene is
also the end fight, the whole thing, like Boris was saying, the two Zorros fighting basically. The whole fight scenes were really well done, and I really like that they had her running and trying to save the people while the others were fighting and stuff. And I knew that gold was gonna fall on top of that captain. I was like, as soon as I saw that gold up there, I saw him under it. I'm like, yeah, at some point that gold's gonna fall on him. So I called that shit. I knew that was gonna happen, and that was not disappointing. That finale was really well done. I really enjoyed that final scene, and the other scene I said was great. So those are my favorite characters and favorite scenes. They're just so well done, and there are a lot of other scenes that were great too. Um, like Boris had mentioned with the kids and hitting the statue, and the statue falling and on those guards that were going to try to shoot Zorro was great too.
uh, yeah, there were many good spin-offs in the movie, right?
Definitely.
Spit out!
And I would have to say I have three favorite characters: Anthony Hopkins, Antonio Banderas, and the horse. I'm sorry, the horse has got to be mentioned because to me, I think one of the things that has become legendary in films such like this is that a horse has a definite personality, you know, and especially I think in Zorro now.
Yeah, I
And
agree. The horse was definitely awesome. Horses, I guess, if they use more than one. But yeah, the horses were definitely a great character.
but favorite scenes, yeah, I will have to say that Catherine Zeta-Jones and Antonio Banderas when they have their little fight scene, it was so s- sensual and sexy, and you wanted to see more.
Yeah,
was
like I said, she definitely wanted more.
But
it
she
was like
was in the
uh,
back in the behind the scenes. She said she was definitely thankful that her hair was long enough to cover her other essentials.
Russ. Yeah, it's funny how we see plenty of movies where we see boobs and stuff, but the way they did this was actually sexier, not showing her breasts. It leaves it to the imagination. And it was just such a sexual scene without showing any nudity. That it was just so well done.
the scene was like they were playing strip poker with swords.
Well, I think she lost.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. I do think when Three Fingered Jack flies out and gets shot. That's kind of interesting. When Captain Love pulls out his jars of whatever that the
The
head and
hand
the
and the head.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that moment's kind of cool because it gives a little bit more of a sadistic nature to the captain. It's like
Yeah, the captain is more evil than the governor is, even though he's definitely evil. But the captain's the worst.
Mm,
Like he had, it was messed up though. Like I
there,
had said originally, the governor was like, "Oh, the kids shouldn't be seeing this." Yet he had kids fucking working in the fucking mines like that. It was just like, okay, he's kind of, he went from being not completely evil to being fucking completely evil.
mm, yeah, maybe he became more evil in those 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, like we saw him, pre complete evil.
oh yeah,
I mean,
and
Yeah, actually,
he does love and take care of the daughter, though. I mean, he didn't just like kidnap her and mistreat her or anything. He did treat her like uh, she was his own daughter,
I
because he loved her
do,
mother so much. So I guess he does have somewhat redeeming qualities in that. He did treat her.
and I
He
do
did.
think that we get some of the
only
better
that,
display of
probably.
sword. I do
Sorry,
think
what did you say?
I said I do think we get some of the better display of swordplay in a movie than we did in many movies before this. Um, uh, I think when it comes to movies that have to do with swords play, this was a good one. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Um, and I
I mean,
think that's
Zorro is supposed to have good swordplay. That's why I don't know. The remake sounds interesting, but they're going more for like not just swordplay but martial arts. Like he's more of like a Batman than Zorro. So I mean, I might like it, but it's definitely, I don't know. I really love swordplay, so I'm not sure why they're doing it that way, but we'll see how it goes.
Yep, definitely. So I think that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have not seen the movie, go out and see it. I mean, it for its time, it
Well, you
was
don't need to go out and see it; just watch it on TV.
if it comes on.
It's on
But
Tubi. Where I watch it.
ah, well, on Tubi, then you definitely can see it for free. So, um, but like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully you get a chance to let us know down in the comments what you thought of the film. But let us tell you at least a little bit about who we are. Krol, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm nobody and I do nothing.
Come on.
I'm
is no.
Krol. I'm disabled, so I don't work. I watch TV, I watch movies, I play video games, I read books. I come on this podcast and talk about wonderful movies, and I come on another podcast on Tuesdays and talk about movies. We are doing some movie called Sailor, which seems kind of interesting. We'll let you know how that goes on Tuesday. You should check it out. Yeah, so that's about it.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Well, I'm David's fiance. I go on this podcast and another one, like Krol said, and we talk about movies. And I have my own collections, and I'm looking forward to next Sunday for my first car show of the year. Yay!
Which she's got a 1972 Grand Prix that she likes to show off. So if you are at all in the area of Borchards here in Milwaukee, on Father's Day weekend, they have their 40th happening. So um, going over to you, well, Zorro, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do? If you don't want to tell us, that's cool too.
Well, okay, maybe just for this occasion, El Zorro will reveal his real identity. My name is Philip, or I usually go by the nickname Boris in this show. I live in Croatia. I'm an unpublished writer and a big horror fan. Unpublished writer. My novels are unpublished. I do have a book of poetry on Amazon, and yeah, I'm trying to get my novels published too. Aside from that, as I said, I'm a big fan of horror movies, which is the reason why I ended up getting in contact with Dave to begin with. And why I'm here in the first place. So, yeah, I guess that's about it.
Okay. And my name is David Strege. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore, which is another channel that we go on about various films and discuss them, analyze them to boot. But here we've been having fun on Delusions of Grandeur, where also on the same channel I do video pickups and video reviews of various movies that I end up coming across, and I think that I need to get off my chest and what I feel about these various films. But hopefully you've enjoyed our choice of films to discuss. We've discussed many, and we will discuss many more in the future. And hopefully, you have fun just like we have, because uh, we just enjoy watching them, and uh, we have different opinions. So it's cool to get off our chest what we've seen for many years and what we haven't seen for many years, and maybe something we notice while we're adults. So, I mean,
Yeah, we have opinions. Dave's just wrong.
there is nothing wrong with that. I
Nothing wrong with
do
being wrong.
believe
Okay.
there's nothing wrong with being right all the time.
Of course not, 'cause I'm always right. I'm always right.
Do we all think that Krol is always right?
Krol is always right. Anyone who
No.
agrees with me is right.
The women are always right. You know that.
Well, if you agree with me, then you're right. If you don't, then you're less than right.
That's communism.
David knows who's always right.
Oh.
Yeah, according to David, Dave. Even when you
I'm
prove
not
someone
scared.
is right.
But I am not afraid to tell her when she's wrong.
Happy wife, happy life.
Even if she's right in the end. But that being said, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Wear a mask if you have to. And we'll see you next time. Which
See ya.
Krol,
See you.
I believe you'll be next after
No,
Philippe.
Philippe is next because Philippe and I
I know
switched.
Philippe is next. I know Philippe is next. I figure he'll be next after Philippe here. So
Well, Philly, tell us what movie we're watching next.
yeah, have you chosen?
Next week we will be doing Brightburn, since we are doing these superhero movies. This is kind of one like that, but more horror type, which
It's a
is
sequel
more.
jam.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So next week we'll be covering Brightburn, which is a fairly newer film. So I'm cool with that. So
Yeah, it's
in
an
any
awesome
case,
film.
like, share, and subscribe, and hope to see you next time. And we'll say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Say good night.
Good night.